All right. It's been a long time since, it's been a while since I haven't made a video, right? So in this video, I want to update y'all about my views, man, my beliefs. I used to be an agnostic, right? But it seems to me like, when it comes to the existence of God, I feel like there is a higher probability of his existence than his non-existence. That's why I'm a deist now. It's not about certainty, but it's about probability. Not all beliefs. If you really if you really look into it, we have a lot of beliefs as humans. They have no evidence behind them. You know? But we still believe them. So, depending on on how big how big the claim is. It requires what can I say, evidence, that matches the claim. If a claim is big, then it requires big evidence, proportionate to the claim, That's why religion cannot be trusted without strong evidence, undeniable evidence, right? But as with the existence of God, you can't really prove it because it's metaphysical, right? With religion, there are a lot of claims and stuff, because if you accept religion, you gotta accept everything that comes with it. That's a really big step that any logical, rational person cannot make without undeniable, extraordinary evidence. Whereas with the existence of God, it's something metaphysical that you cannot prove empirically. You cannot prove with science. So saying is there scientific evidence for the existence of God is the wrong question, because we are not talking about science here. We are talking about something metaphysical. There are arguments, as I said, the arguments are not the ontological, moral, the dependency, the argument, contingency argument, the Kalam cosmology. All these arguments are not convincing to me. What's convincing to me is another thing. That's the reason why I believe in it. I'm going to tell you the reason. I'm going to tell you the arguments. So the argument goes like this. For something to exist outside time and space, right? What it needs to be like. It cannot be material. It cannot be physical. It cannot be physical, immaterial. It has to be non-physical. And non-physical is invincible. If there are any beings who are non-physical, they are invincible. They cannot be detected. So we can't really assume that they exist unless we can detect them. So how can we assume that we exist? As I said, the argument goes as follows. It all boils down to the necessary existence, because, as I said, the universe is the beginning, right? Therefore it is contingent. It could have failed to exist. It does not exist in all possible worlds. It is contingent. It is dependent. We cannot have an infinite chain of dependency. Unless, some say that if we have an infinite universe, it's possible. But it's unlikely that we have an infinite universe. Because, the age of the universe is finite, right? 13.8 billion years. The expansion rate of the universe, differs from region to region. Sometimes in some places, at the edge of the observable universe, it's far greater than, the speed of light. But still, it's finite. So you cannot have an infinite universe. That's just basic logic. I don't know, they keep saying that the curvature looks almost flat, but you might be observing a very small portion of it. If you zoom out, it's probably just a circle or, something like that, just like Earth. Once you reach the edge, you circle around, That's how I think, that's what I personally think. I think that the universe is very vast, but it's finite. Right? Okay, so going back, because I got completely lost here. I don't know what my point was, Yeah, so as I said, since it has a beginning, it has to be finite. That's what I think. So, it is contingent. It has to be contingent upon something else. It has to be dependent upon something else. It's constituted of parts. Anything that's constituted of parts cannot be necessary. You cannot say that the universe is necessary. That leaves us with two choices. Either it depends on a set of contingent things that ends up with a necessary being, or it, or it depends directly on necessary being, or it's a contingent. Contingency is a brute fact, which is way less likely, because nothing gives you nothing. Zero can never give you one. I know that nothing in physics is different to nothing in philosophy, but nothing in philosophy is basically nothing. Nothing, Whereas a complete void, right? Whereas in physics, it's something. It's like a lowest energy of state, a mathematical structure, vacuum, so it's not really nothing. But still, that's something, right? That's something. If it's contingent, if it's dependent, then we still need a necessary being. If it cannot be necessary. Energy cannot be necessary, because it's physical. It obeys to the physical laws. It cannot exist outside time and space. So you cannot say that the universe came from energy, right? Energy exists inside time and space. It is physical, immaterial. Anything that is material is physical, but not everything that is physical is material. But still, as I said, it obeys to physical laws. It exists within time and space. It cannot exist outside of it. So it cannot be non-physical. We need something to be non-physical. Unnecessary existence has to be non-physical. It has to be non-physical. It has to be absolutely immortal. Absolutely immortal meaning it exists in all possible times, in all possible worlds. Something physical cannot exist everywhere simultaneously. Not everywhere, but in every possible world simultaneously. So that rules out physicality, So it has to be non-physical. Energy is not physical, so it has to be something physical. And it has to be necessary. So it won't be contingent or dependent on anything else. Right? So we get to the conclusion that the universe depends on something that is non-physical and necessary. Necessary, basically, necessary existence. But if you really look at it, that's about the definition of a God in theists, It's a necessary existence that is non-physical. So you basically, so if you accept a necessary existence, then you automatically believe to God according to them. Because that's how they define God. So according to them, you believe in God. So that's the reason, that's the argument, That's the argument. You cannot have multiple necessary existences because, if they are distinct, but similar in identical in everything, then they collapse into a single one. It's just one. But if they are multiple but they are different, they are no longer a necessary existence because they lack something, and the lack can only be explained by something external, which renders the being that lack this thing not necessary because it can be explained something outside of it. And necessary existence has nothing that is not limited, because there is nothing external that imposes limitation on it. So that's the argument. I think it's the best explanation. This is not a mathematical truth, but I think it's the best explanation, the most likely to be the case. Now that's why I'm a deist. You gotta have a critical mind, update your thoughts. You should always approach things neutrally. Try to be as neutral as possible. Humans can never be fully neutral, but you gotta try to be as neutral as possible. Detach yourself from your beliefs, Empty your cup of tea. So I can fill your cup of tea, when you're discussing with someone. Let him share his ideas, be open. You should always have this mindset that you can be wrong. That's what I have. If you don't, that's your problem. But for me, I'm talking about myself, I always have this mindset because I realize I'm not perfect, right? And nobody is. But when you say that you already have the truth, then you're no longer a truth seeker, by definition. Because you already think you possess the truth with certainty. Anyways, that's all I gotta say, man. Thanks for watching, man. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'm out, bruh. Peace.